What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Nick 4K video. Today we are doing a video that isn't exactly topical, I guess you could say, but I have finally watched Aquaman 2, and that was the last of the DCEU movies that I have seen. I've seen every single one by this point now, and some I have watched like a couple years ago, some I've watched in just a couple months ago, so not all of them are fresh in my head, but I do have an opinion on every single one of them. So I wanted to do one final tier list, one final send-off to the DCEU, whether you liked it or not. And that's what this video is going to be about. So if you enjoy this tier list and you want to see more like this, make sure to like, subscribe, turn notifications for more. And if you have any cool ideas for a future tier list you want to see me do, let me know in the comments. And if I use your suggestion, I'll give you a shout out in that video. So without further ado, guys, let's check out what we have today. As usual, we have amazing, we have good, we have okay, we have bad, and then we have booty. So if you've seen my tier list before, amazing pretty much means masterpiece, and booty means complete trash, no redeemable qualities at all. So starting with Man of Steel, I think Man of Steel is good. When it first came out, I remember thinking it was like very tame. Not that I didn't like it, but I just thought it was very like chill. And I think part of it comes down to Man of Steel came out around the same time Avengers 1 came out, right? So Man of Steel was like different, but also not Avengers. And at that point, superhero movies and like cinema in general, it was going in that direction towards more of the Avengers and the building a cinematic universe and all that future stuff, right? We didn't know by that point what the MCU was going to become, but we could see the foundations, and it was clear that was the future of, you know, superhero movies. So while Man of Steel was a good film, it was rather tame compared to what we've seen. I think that did kind of bring it down for me. But as time has gone on, I've actually rewatched this one. I consider this one part of the Zack Snyder trilogy, which is Man of Steel, BVS, and Zack Snyder's Justice League. I kind of call that like the Justice League trilogy, even though there were supposed to be more Justice League movies, but they're not going to happen anymore. I consider that the trilogy of Zack Snyder trilogy, and all three of those movies I really like now that time has passed and I can kind of see the full story, what he was going for with his vision. I really like it. So Man of Steel is going to go in good. Not a masterpiece, but good. Next, we have Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, there are two versions of this movie. There's the theatrical and the extended. I only have one of the versions on this tier list right now, so I'm going to consider like all these movies the peak of what we've seen of them, right? So the theatrical one I always thought was just okay. I saw that in theaters. I thought it was just like, it was fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it. It was just kind of, it was all right. But the extended version was so good, in my opinion. And I'm going to put it right behind Man of Steel. And you know what? On a given day, I could actually switch these two too. I actually like them a lot. I know Batman v Superman gets a lot of hate, or at least it did when it first came out, like I said, with the theatrical. I think the extended cut has really expanded upon the story and made people like it more. There's just a lot of elements that the theatrical cut out of it. So if you haven't seen this movie since the theaters, I definitely recommend going to check it out again with the extended version, especially if you can watch Man of Steel, Batman v Superman extended, and then you can watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's a super solid trilogy all around now. One of my favorite trilogies when it comes to superhero movies in general. I just think it's so good. There are still flaws with this movie, just like Man of Steel. There are still flaws, but I think overall it's just a very entertaining film. I know a lot of people had a problem with like two aspects of this film, and one was that Batman's killing people. I was okay with that. This is an older, angry Batman. He doesn't pull his punches anymore. He just does what he's got to do. I'm okay with the character arc they were going with him. And two, Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. I think when it comes to this movie, it was a little ahead of its time, honestly. Because if you think about it, like, the idea of Lex Luthor, at least in the past, the idea of this billionaire bad guy, right? He's like stoic and evil and does his thing, whatever, but he's different. He's different than the version we've seen in this. This movie kind of tackles the idea that Lex is a lot more like a Zuckerberg-esque person. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely think that while I didn't like Lex at first, and I think that maybe they could have done it a little better, I think he really does work as like the kind of weird, really rich guy that just like this genius, weird, rich guy. And I think it's great. I think it works good with the film. Maybe a tad too much, a little too Riddler here and there. But I think for what it is, it's good. It's good now. Looking back on it, it's better, you know. But at the time, I can completely understand why people really hated that. Actually, there was one thing I wanted to talk about Man of Steel that I forgot to mention. One, Henry Cavill was amazing. We all know that. And two, when Superman had to break Zod's neck, that was a big problem online. A lot of people really hated it. But here are my reasonings for why I think it's awesome and why it makes sense. One, he just became Superman, right? He's not the guy who can save the day every time yet. He's not there yet. And two, where are you gonna put Zod after you capture him? Where's he gonna put him? Where's Soup gonna put him? You tell me. Go ahead, tell me in the comments. Where's he gonna put him? Because there's nowhere he can put him. Only place he can put him is in the sun. And that's not gonna help either. That's just gonna make him stronger. So at the end of the day, regardless of if you think it was wrong for him to crack Zod's neck, the truth is there was no other choice. So any argument against that is just wrong. Sorry, that's the way it is. Okay, so yeah, so back to Batman v Superman. It's good. I really like it. Extended version is the version to watch, obviously, like I said. Try not to watch the theatrical because that is not nearly as good. The fight between the two of them is really good. I think the joining of like the first time we see like the dawn of justice, we see Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman. Yeah, I think for the smaller story that Zack is telling us as far as his trilogy goes, it works really well. But I do understand the criticism that people wanted to see these other Justice League characters build up in their own movies before joining together. Completely understand that, especially around the same time MCU was really starting to kick off with this. Like Civil War was just coming out around the same time. So it's one of those things where like things were hitting the fan in the MCU. It was lacking, people noticed it, and we got what we got. But I like it now, but at the time, I didn't like it. Next, this is the regular Suicide Squad, the original one. This is bad. I saw it in theaters. I remember thinking it's fine. I rewatched it about 7 or 8 months ago, and it was very bad. Very, very bad, especially considering the newer one is so much more better. The good things about this movie, though, I will admit, is I like Deadshot. I think Will Smith's character is cool. I like him. He's good. And then Harley Quinn. I like their chemistry between the two of them. They're great. But everything else is pretty rough. So I don't know if I can really get any compliments. Ric Flair, he's good. He's good in that one. Pretty much everything good from the original Suicide Squad got brought into the Suicide Squad, but they can only do too much. You know what I mean? There's only so much you can do with that, and that's the way it is. Okay, next one, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is good. I'm gonna put this up here. I actually think I like at the time I think I liked Wonder Woman more than BVS, but now that I know the full BVS story, well, as much as we're gonna get anyways, I'm going to put it right behind it. Wonder Woman, just a fun movie, came out of nowhere and just blew up. And I think it was one of those movies that was like, it wasn't girl power movie, right? Like sure, it was a girl who was showing her power throughout the movie, right? But it wasn't just a girl power movie, girls are better than men. It wasn't anything like that. It wasn't trying to hit you over the head with a message. It did have a little bit of an underlining message, right? But the most important part was it was telling a story. It told the story first, and then any of those messages or whatever, that was underlined. And it did a great job of that. Great movie. Except for the final fight. The final fight was a little too extra for me. But I get it. Around this time, that was kind of what movies did. And I think it could have probably been better. But besides that, really good. Next one, Justice League. This one is so hard to say. The truth is, the biggest problem I have with this movie, when this came out, I thought it was just okay. But looking at what Zack's original vision was compared to what this became, I had to put this in booty. I really don't think, like, at the time, sure, you could say this has redeeming qualities in it, and there is one scene in this movie that I will say is actually better than Zack's version, at least in my opinion. And that is the point when Batman says, "I brought out the big guns," and then we see Lois show up. I think that is the only redeemable quality about this film. Everything else is just booty. And even though that is a better scene or a better reason to bring Lois to the action going on, I'm gonna have to put it in booty, because overall, what it is, it's just this like Frankenstein creation of a better film. And no, it's going in booty. That's the way it's gonna be. I don't think I'm gonna have any pushback on that either. Next one, Aquaman. Aquaman it's all right. It's okay. Seen it twice in theaters. I remember thinking it was pretty good, and then I watched it again and I thought it was less good. Still fun, but overall just an okay film. I like the dynamic between Aquaman and Orm, but ultimately when it comes down to it, it was an okay film. That's my opinion, but that's what I think. Next one, Shazam 1. Shazam is, when I first saw it, I really liked it. I rewatched it again recently, and I thought it was Is it good? Is it good? I don't know. It's a high okay. I don't know if I can put it good. It's a high okay. The jokes are funny. I think it's a really good job of like of showing like how a teenager, like what if you gave a random teenager the powers of Superman type of thing. I think it does an amazing job of that. And I'm watching this movie and I'm thinking to myself, this is what me and my friends would have done. You know what I'm saying? Like this, what they're doing in that film is exactly what me and my buddies would have done had I got those powers. So I think it's great. But overall, is the movie good? I don't know. I don't know if I can say it's a good DCEU movie. Maybe a good movie as far as quality goes, sure. But as far as DCEU, it's not nearly as good as Wonder Woman. So I'm gonna have to put it down in the high okay. I might change that still by the end of the list, but yeah, I think that's fine. And oh, by the way, for those of you who may not know, the way that I do my tier list, for me, it is like whoever is the closest to the words is better than the one behind it, right? So I think Man of Steel is the best so far. Then we have BVS, then Wonder Woman, right? So they're not all in the same bar. There's effectively like there's different tiers that they're all on, but one is better than the other. So that's how I do my tier list. I know not everyone does that, but that's how I like to do it. All right, next one. We have Harley Quinn. I thought this one was pretty bad. Best part about it was Harley. I don't really think there's much of anything I can say. Or Birds of Prey, not Harley. But yeah, it was pretty bad. Pretty bad. But Harley was good. And I don't really think there's anything else better than that. Even Ewan McGregor, he was the bad guy in this. He plays Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars, by the way. I usually love Ewan and everything he does, but in this movie, he was just kind of flat and boring. A kind of very generic villain type guy. So, yeah, it's going to go in bad. Still redeemable qualities here and there, but bad. Okay, next one, Wonder Woman 84. I'll probably get a little hate for this, but I actually think that this one's pretty okay. It's almost bad, but I wouldn't say it's bad, but I understand if someone did put it in bad type of thing. I definitely can't put it up in good. It is way behind the original Wonder Woman, but it's above Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey for me. I think it's just a fun film that, even though it doesn't make sense for the rest of the DCEU, I like that it didn't take itself too serious, and it knew that it was in a different universe type of thing, and just kind of did its own thing. So I appreciate that. Overall, though, definitely a weaker film from the original. So I'm going to put it there. And Gal Gadot, she did great, so I want to leave that there. The Suicide Squad. This one's good. I'm going to put that right behind Wonder Woman. It is a very fun, much better film than the original one. Kind of feels like if DCEU tried to do its own Guardians without the space aspect to it, and that makes sense because James Gunn directed it. Yeah, just really good humor, and good times were had by all. So I'm going to put it up there into good. All right, next one we have Black Adam. I'll probably get a little pushback on this again, but I actually like this one a little more than Aquaman. A little less than Shazam, a little more than Aquaman. It was a fun, just sit back, relax film. I know that there are better films than this, obviously, and I completely understand if you'd put this into bad. But for me, I had a fun time with it. I thought the visuals were pretty good in it too. And I like the dynamic of Black Adam kind of taking on the Justice Society and seeing how he kind of mixes as kind of like an anti-hero with these other heroes who are trying to do the right thing. And here's this guy just like messing around, and it's good. In a way, it's kind of like, what if Thor from the MCU? Like, what if in the first Thor movie, Thor comes to Earth, right? But instead of him being a good guy, he's kind of just like an anti-hero right off the bat. Like, what if he had more of a low-key personality? That's pretty much what we got in this, and yeah, I think it's good. I think The Rock does a pretty good job in it, and it would have been cool to see him actually in a story with Henry Cavill, like they were going to explore, but that's not happening anymore. But yeah, as far as it goes, Black Adam's gonna go there. All right, next one we have Shazam: Fury of the Gods. I actually like this one too. I'll probably put it a little in front of Black Adam. I think that it's one of those movies that it got a little more hate than it deserved. I think for the most part, the DCEU was always behind Marvel, right? It was always like everyone was talking about Marvel, and then sometimes there'd be like that one person who's like, "Oh yeah, but what about the new DC movie?" And everyone just looks at him and it's like, "Shut up. We don't talk about that here," you know? And it is kind of sad because while I am a bigger fan of Marvel, I am a big fan of the DC universe as well. And I feel like some of these movies kind of get a little more crap than they deserve, right? So as far as things go, I'm going to say Shazam: Fury of the Gods and Black Adam. Both these movies got way more hate than they deserved. And yeah, they're gonna go there. And they're both an okay, sure, but like they're not bad films like people have said. So that's just the way it is. So before we get to the final three movies that were kind of like the end of the DCEU, let's talk about one of the best, if not the best, movies of the film of this entire franchise, Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm gonna put it in amazing. It is so good. So good. Every time I watched it, I've loved it since the first time I watched it. I've loved it since the last time. I want to see this trilogy finished. I know it's been over for years now. I want to see someone pick up this Snyder universe and let him finish his vision, because I love this movie. It is amazing. Is it the best movie of all time? Of course not. Is it the best movie as far as quality compared to a lot of these movies? Maybe not. But when it comes to the question, what is the best of the DCEU films as far as like being a, DC film? It's this one. Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's amazing. It's going to the top. And that's just the way it is. If you argue against it, you're just wrong. That's just the way it is. All right, so now let's get to the final three. So these final three, that'd be The Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman 2. These were all kind of coming out at the end of the DCEU. It was the death of it, effectively. I'm going to say this. We're going to start with The Flash. The Flash is a movie that, like, concept-wise and story-wise, the idea of this film sounds like it could be amazing. But the actual execution of the film is pretty rough. I'm going to put it in okay. I think it is not bad, not good. It's just all right. It's okay. It's right behind Wonder Woman 84 for me. I think there's aspects of this film that could be truly amazing. It's just the execution of a lot of those aspects are just not done and not cooked all the way. And you can kind of feel the reshoots. You can kind of feel that this franchise is running on fumes by that point. And they're just kind of like, let's just finish this up, get it out the door. And you can see that with the CGI. CGI really pulls this movie back. And I'm not really like a bad CGI hater. I think there's certain CGI scenes that like you can understand. Like when it comes to like end of Black Panther, that fight with Killmonger and Black Panther, that looks rough. But it's still good enough to the point where you can let it go. And it doesn't ruin the movie for the most part. But there are some scenes in The Flash that really just messes with your brain. And it's just irredeemable. So it's going to have to go in okay. I would understand an argument for bad, though. And I could maybe understand an argument for good for certain aspects. But ultimately, as a full package deal, it is just a very okay film. It's going in there. Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle caught me by surprise. This is one of those movies that I saw the trailer for and I said, I'm not watching this. And I didn't go see it in theaters. I actually waited for HBO Max to watch it. So the thing about this movie is that I think that as a film, it is good, but as a DC movie, I think it's pretty just okay. So I'm gonna probably put it like somewhere around here. Yeah, we'll put it there. I think that's a good spot for it. I could maybe change that up, maybe put it in front of Black Adam, put it behind it, but I think I'm gonna put it there. It was a fun film. It was kind of like, do you know the TV show Miss Marvel? It was kind of like that, except for as a movie and better. Like Miss Marvel, when I was watching that show, I was thinking like, this is not bad, but it's not for me, right? It feels like it's for like a younger audience, like for maybe like the generation under me, or maybe even like someone who would be like 5 years younger than me type of thing. That's what it felt like. Where Blue Beetle feels kind of like that, but it also is better. Like it's done better. The quality is there compared to Miss Marvel. So I'm gonna put it there. Maybe in the future I'll change that, but for now I'm going to put it right there in the okay. And finally, last but not least, the final film, the DCEU. And I'm going to put this one up in good. I don't 100% know why it's good. It might just be recency bias, right? But I like it more than the first Aquaman. I like it more than Shazam 1, but I don't like it more than the Suicide Squad. So that's why it's going to go there. There are probably better places to put it. I would understand if you don't like it, you think it would be considered bad. But I think overall, it's going to be somewhere between the okay and the good category. But I do like it more than Shazam 1, so I'm going to put it up in the good spots. I felt like the story had more agency than the first one. I like the idea of Aquaman and Orm teaming up. Yeah, it was just overall more fun, entertaining film than the first one. But I'd understand if you didn't like it as much. So there you go, guys. That is my final ranking of the DCEU movies, guys. It's finally over. We're moving on. We're jumping into James Gunn's next franchise. So as far as things go, this is how I rank these films. How would you rank these films? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any cool ideas for future tier lists you want to see me do, make sure to leave those in the comments below, because if I use your suggestion, I will give you a shout out in that video. Thanks again for watching, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn notifications for more. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you later. Peace.